Hello YouTube. Okay, today is a full review day between my 2015 Santacruz Nomad versus the Lapierre Zesty 5.0 AM 5.0 Fit. If you don't already know, this is my personal bike, the Santacruz Nomad. I've been riding it for a few years now. It's 165 mm rear travel and 160 front travel. It's currently set up in a mullet setup. I will not talk too much about this bike because you've all heard about it before. It's built exactly the way I've wanted it, and it rides the way I want it to, and it handles the best that it has ever handled with a 27.5 wheel. The mullet setup in its current setup is the best that it's ever been. So having said that, this is the best climbing bike I've owned so far, and I've owned only very old school bikes. This is the newest bike I've ever owned. But I'm looking into going into newer geometry bikes, which brings us to this Lapierre Zesty 5.0 AM 5.0 Fit. Full carbon bike. I'm not going to talk to you so much about what it comes with from factory. It currently is, as of now, factory spec. Aside from the pedals which I've fitted on, a shorter stem. It normally comes with a 45 mm stem. I put on a 30 mm stem because it's size large. I'm only 174 cm tall, 5'8", and I'm 77 kg, which equals to about 160 pounds, I think. And I replaced the original standard Lapierre grip with a thicker ODI style Zito rubber grip, which is much thicker and suits my grip preference. If you all don't already know, this Lapierre Spicy is on a full 29er model, which comes with 140 mm and front and rear travel. Generally, this is a size large. I normally ride a size medium. That's why you see that I've pushed the seat forward to the max, and I've shortened the stem to 30 mm, just so that I can ride it and I can fit in it. At the moment, it fits perfectly for me. But if it was up to me, I would take a size M, so that the front will not be so light. It will be more weighted in front. Now let's jump straight into what this bike is about. Let's talk about this bike. This is a 2020 bike. It's new geometry. It's new school geometry, but it's not the aggressive new school geometry setup that the current new school geometry bikes come with. Doesn't have such a steep seat tube angle. I think the current trend is 77 degrees. This is only 74.5 degrees, and its head tube angle, current trend is 65, 64, 64.9. The head tube angle on this is only 66 degrees. So it's a little bit off from the current gold standard. But having said that, it is a whole notch better than my old school Nomad and my old 2015 Nomad V3. The Lapierre Zesty does everything better generally than my Nomad, aside from going downhill, of course, but that can be easily rectified by upgrading the fork to a 160 mm travel fork, which I will be doing in the near future. The Lapierre Zesty is not my bike, by the way. It is a bike loaned to me by a good friend, Shamugam. Let's just call him Shamugam. And it is a very capable bike. Let me tell you how this bike rides and feels, because I think that there hasn't been enough reviews on the Lapierre brand in English. This is a European brand, it's French, and in Europe, Lapierre is actually very popular, and a lot of people know about it and ride it, and I think it's a popular go-to brand. But in Asia, the brand is not represented very well. Not many people ride it. There are not many reviews in English. So what I have been going through as a bike rider who wants to upgrade to a modern geometry bike but don't know what to get, and don't know whether I should be spending the 20,000 ringgit, or 16, 17, 18,000 ringgit for a well-known brand bike like a Santacruz, a Yeti, Track, Specialized, Scott, Pivot. All these brands are quite expensive, and if you want a full carbon bike that is very affordable, very attainable, this actually stands out from the crowd, because what it comes with: a full GX build, 12-speed, carbon crank, 35mm rims, aluminium rims, and proper RockShox suspension, good dropper posts, SRAM guide, brakes. Everything it comes with is actually very, very good. It can hold up to the task of doing its all-mountain duty, although it's a trail bike, being 140mm travel. I ride it as an enduro bike. I ride it as I do my Nomad, and it has taken everything I've thrown at it so far. Okay, enough chit chat. Let's get to the hard details. What it does good is it climbs better than my Nomad, number one. If I put the rear suspension switch on, I have to state this very clearly. The rear suspension is very, very good. It's a very progressive rear suspension. Its initial to mid-stroke is very soft. It likes to live in the middle of its stroke. This suspension likes to live in the middle of its stroke if you have it fully open. What that means is you will experience pedal bob on this bike. So when you're climbing, it has excellent grip. It climbs with very, very good grip if you have your switch off, means fully open, rear suspension fully open. There's a lot of grip, a lot of traction, rear suspension very active. But I found that it does zap a bit of your energy, and what I've done every time I climb is I've made myself flip the switch so that I close the low speed compression and it climbs excessively well, like that. It descends fantastically as well, very stable. It does very well mid-air flight, very predictable mid-air flight, no twitchiness, no lightness all of a sudden. It goes exactly where you want to go, and it points to the direction. Mid-air, you will not have any nervousness, no jitteriness. You will not lose your landing. Once you spot your landing, you'll be fine. So very stable mid-air. Maybe it's due to the fact that it's running 229er wheels, and that makes it more stable. I'm not sure. This is the second time rather, I've been on a full 29er bike. But the first time I'm on a mid to high travel 29er bike. My Nomad climbs very well with the coil. I don't have a flip switch, so it's always on the open mode. Climbs very well. I've tuned the rear suspension so that it doesn't bob so much. It's perfect. But this bike climbs a little bit better. My old Nomad flies and jumps very well as well, but doesn't jump mid-air. It doesn't have the mid-air stability of this Lapierre Zesty. It does have a little bit of a twitchiness in mid-air during flight. So you've got to really not be so playful in the air. Maybe it's just me, but that's how my bike is set up. This bike, factory setup, flies in the air, no problem, very stable. Now, going uphill, climbing, good grip and good traction. Just need to off the flip switch. Next is descending. Descending, it's fast. This bike changes direction very quickly. It's very stable on the rough stuff. It just needs a bigger fork in front, which I will be upgrading from this 140mm travel RockShox Revelation to a King Creek helm coil. That will be the next review on this bike once I've done it. It will be set up in a 150mm travel first. Later on, I'll bump the coil suspension, the King Creek helm, to a 160mm travel, just to try it out. Now, descending rear suspension is the superstar of its descending prowess. It absorbs everything. I've never bottomed out. I've set the suspension correctly at 30% sag to my weight, and I've never had to do anything else to it. It's perfect. Now, what it does very good is, and which impressed me the most, is actually corner speed. Very fast, very stable, very predictable, and coming out of the corners in technical tight turns, it comes out very quickly. It doesn't have the laziness that I've experienced on this Nomad. On Nomad, when I come out of a tight technical corner, technical turn, I have to really stand up and pedal to gain speed, to pick up the speed that I've lost in the turn. On this Lapierre Zesty, it really takes your pedal strokes into account very, very efficiently, and you just zoom out of the corner and you pick up the speed that you've lost in the corner instantly. Having said that, off saddle pedaling, also very good, very positive. Once you off saddle pedal, the bike just keeps wanting to go forward. It just surges forward, and it makes you less tired. It's a more efficient bike. That means it makes you less tired and it allows you to stay on the bike and pedal longer, harder, more often. Now, I'm doing all these comparisons based on what I have been riding, which is my old Nomad V3. So I'm just gonna go and tell you what this bike does better than that. The next thing is, we've talked about coming out of cornering speed. Okay, we've covered coming out of cornering speed. Then standing up and pedaling, very efficient. Riding on the road as well as off-road, this bike gives me the ability to stay on the bike and ride for longer. It is much more efficient than my old bike, and what happens is, what this gives me is that I'm allowed to pedal more, to ride longer, more efficient, fast on the downhill. I haven't broken any records because I'm still getting used to the bike. Going down on descents, it can handle all the descents that I'm used to. Maybe I haven't had the confidence to descend and break my own personal records yet. We'll try this weekend to do some of that. One thing also I've noticed in high-speed corners, this bike turns more agile. It's more agile on the turns. It is very light in mid-turn, and it can actually change direction tighter and faster than my old Nomad. compared to my old Nomad. The turning radius is actually smaller, and I like its ability, its nimbleness, its playfulness on how fast it can turn and change directions, and how fast it actually comes out of slow corners. All this helps, and I also like how it is very light on the pedal. Maybe it's the group set, maybe it's the gearing, but I think it's the geometry and where I'm positioned on the bike, and also maybe it's due to the 29er wheels. Once you get up to speed, it actually pedals very, very lightly. It allows me to stay on the bike for a much longer period of time at more comfortably. I would say that it is also a lighter bike compared to what I'm normally riding, and the lightness is actually felt in the climbs a lot. With this, if there are any other questions, yeah, please drop a comment and ask. I'm doing all these reviews off the cuff of my head, just as a personal record, and hopefully help someone in their buying decision on this Lapierre. Now, the downside of this bike is the only thing that I found I do not like. It's the straightness of its rear swing arm. I have this issue similar to the commensal in the past, where my heel will strike this part of the bike. It will get caught here because the bike doesn't have much clearance. If you look at this, there's not much clearance here, so my heel does get caught on these two arms right here. I like the fact that the rear shock has a mudguard protector, and of course it has a compartment here that you can store your tools and a spare tube. Okay. No other cons. The only other con was maybe Lapierre should have supplied a thicker grip. I do have a lot of vibration radiating from the front, and I'm getting vibrations on the handlebar. Handlebar is very stiff. It's an alloy unit which is very, very stiff. Doesn't absorb much vibration up, but it's good and very, very responsive. Rims are perfect. They're stiff enough, strong enough, feels good, quite comfortable. Frame is beautiful. Frame design is beautiful. Nothing else. Saddle is comfortable. The only con is the rear triangle being too straight, where I get my heels hung up there, and front fork is not high end enough. Need a higher end fork, and if you can splurge on a 160mm travel front fork, which I will be doing in my next review. Alright, nothing else. Do let me know, comment, like and subscribe. Put any questions you have in my comment section, and I will reply the best I can. Thank you.